For more on the Brazil impeachment, let's bring in Kiratiana Freelon. She is a journalist based in Brazil. And I have to ask you, a lot of fiery speeches as a result of all this. Of course, Dilma saying that this is a coup, a betrayal, an injustice. What do you make of all of this?
Well, there's obviously two sides to this. There's the people who, for the last 2 years of her second mandate, have wanted her gone. And then there's the people who see this as a coup. So right now, Brazil is a very divided country, and people are expressing their anger over the internet as well as in the streets.
And what are you hearing from folks? I mean, this obviously has to be the talk of the town at the cafes and that sort of thing, restaurants. What are people saying?
Well, I think the first thing that people looked at when Michel Temer formed his government is who was actually in his cabinet. And he's formed a cabinet with just white men. And I think this is basically showing people that Brazil is going to, in the next 6 months, is going to have a government that doesn't value diversity in social movements as much as the previous government. So people are extremely disappointed. But we also just have the people on the other side, the people who wanted President Dilma Rousseff out. And so they're extremely happy.
It's interesting. She said she's made mistakes, hasn't committed any crimes. It was interesting. I was reading one professor there in Brazil who says at least 60% of the legislators accusing her of corruption and judging her, in fact, have procedures running against them for corruption. What do you have to say about that?
Well, the Brazilian people know that most of their politicians are corrupt. And in fact, if there's one thing that unites all Brazilian people, that is that they want their politicians to not be as corrupt. That's the one thing that unites the right and the left. So that doesn't mean that Michel Temer and the current government that is replacing President Rousseff's government is safe. That just means that everybody is going to have to be on their toes because both the left and right are going to be watching.
You know, what's interesting, it wasn't that long ago that Brazil was really kind of the darling. The economy was humming. There was, of course, the Olympics on their way. In fact, they're coming. Is this taking away from the spirit in the country and the excitement over the Olympics? I mean, how would you frame it that way?
Well, I would frame it that Brazilians have a tendency to wait until the last minute for everything. So, I will admit, there isn't much excitement around the Olympic and Paralympic Games yet, but I don't doubt the fact that, a week or 2 weeks before we have the opening ceremony, Brazilians are going to be excited.
Let me ask you about the psyche. You've got a crippling recession, you've got staggering unemployment, you've got the Zika virus, so many things going on in the country, and then, of course, this whole political maelstrom, if you will. What would you say this has done to the psyche of the people there in Brazil?
Well, first I'll say that, things have been worse in Brazil. This isn't the first coup that people have experienced. There was a coup more than 40 years ago. There was a military dictatorship just 25 years ago. So a lot of people will think back to the past and say it has been worse. But I have to admit, Brazilians are very it takes a lot to bring the spirit of a Brazilian down. So regardless of the economy, of the Zika virus, of Olympic and Paralympic Games tickets that haven't been sold, Brazilian people still have hope that they can eventually have a well-functioning economy, politicians who aren't corrupt, and I think they know that the Olympic and Paralympic Games are actually going to go off with a hit, as just like the World Cup did 2 years ago.
Kiratiana, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
If you like what you just saw, follow us on social media and visit our website, cctv-america.com.